Hey, the Carter Center is hosting its annual Jimmy Carter Forum on U.S. China Relations this week, bringing together diplomats and scholars, and they're examining one key theme: the role women have played in shaping the relationship between the two countries. Happy to be joined this morning by Dr. Yawei Liu, a senior advisor on China at the Carter Center. Dr. Liu, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
This forum has been going on for more than a decade now. Why was this the right moment to center this year's conversation specifically on women and diplomacy?
Well, women has played a very important role in sustaining peace worldwide, and American women and Chinese women have also played a vital role in stabilizing this relationship and making this relationship mutually beneficial to both nations.
It's a time of real tension between Washington and Beijing. What role can this forum play when there may not exactly be a lot of dialogue going on between the two countries?
Well, there are actually quite a lot of dialogues going on between the two countries. I think Secretary Besson and his counterpart from China just met in Davos, Switzerland, and President Trump is invited to visit China in April. But at the same time, I think people to people exchange, that's what the Carter Center has been doing over 20, 30 years, are more important because we need to have better, more objective perception of each other so that we can inform our leaders not to make miscalculation.
How grave is this moment that we find ourselves in? I mean, can you put it into context for us? You mentioned Secretary Bessent there, so we're talking tariffs, but there's also geopolitical tensions. I mean, what is the 2026 relationship between the U.S. and China like compared to years past?
Well, the most important thing, of course, is this trade dispute between the two countries. President Trump and President Xi have agreed to put this into a one-year peace, but he's going there, and the Chinese leader is coming here. There's also the issue of Taiwan that many here in the U.S. are calling it the Davidson window. Admiral Davidson predicted that China is going to use force in 2027. So this year turns out to be very important, not just economically, but also geopolitically.
And I tell you, I don't know if you saw the Brookings Institute releasing an article yesterday, some analysis about three potential pathways for U.S. China relations under President Trump. And we have it pulled up here. And it basically laid out three possible pathways under the current U.S. administration, ranging from what they call a soft landing, a hard split, or what they call the most likely scenario being both sides trying to buy time and build insulation around their competition. Under the current theme that you guys have going on this week, I guess the question is, how do you see the role of women in diplomacy fitting into this pattern? I mean, can female leaders actually shift the relationship towards cooperation at this point instead of calm and escalation?
No, I think if you look at history, really this is the 250 years anniversary of the founding of the U.S. American women, from the missionaries, from the educators, from the diplomats, and American women politicians such as Hillary Clinton, they all have played a very important role. And this is quite a neglect fact that we all have to look at. But of course, women and men are also aware of the big picture, and that, of course, is trade, geopolitical tension. I think regarding the Brookings report, a better scenario or prospect is peaceful coexistence that President Carter initiated when he made the decision in 1978 to normalize the relationship, and that's what we are struggling and striking for.
Dr. Liu, tell us a little more about the forum this week. Can anybody attend? How can they do it? And what are the dates?
So the date is tomorrow at 5 o'clock. The forum will begin with a free and public concert. And then we have a former senior diplomat, Sarah Biren. She will give the keynote speech moderated by our own Bevington, who is the president of World Affairs Council of Atlanta. So all people locally and from other places are welcome to come to the Carter Center. And also Friday all day, we will have four panel discussions on the role of women, on gendered view of each other, as well as discrimination faced by women here in the U.S. and there in China.
Dr. Liu, I'm just curious to know, for folks who aren't, policy experts thinking about the future of U.S. China relations, what's the biggest thing we should be watching over the next year or two? Is it trade and tariffs, or do you think it's Taiwan or something else?
No, I think this is 2026, 2026 is the big year that President Trump will go to China and the Chinese leader will come over here. So in terms of the state visit, the last visit by President Xi was in 2015. So it's 11 years ago, even though he was in San Francisco in 2023, even though he met with President Trump, in South Korea, but visiting each other, and particularly for President Trump to go to China to talk to the Chinese people, and for the Chinese leader to come here to talk to the American people, that's very important. Let's remind us of last, the main Chinese leader that was invited by President Carter to come here. He came to Atlanta in 1979. That made all the difference. I was a college student when I watched that. It just changed my view of the United States. Period.
Dr. Liu, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for your perspective, your expertise on a complicated topic. We'd love to have you back, and good luck at the forum this week.
Looking forward to seeing you and all others in Atlanta. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.